Well over 100 people paint this scene in watercolor. How different can they be? Which ones do you like and why? Hello, I'm Tim Wilmot, watercolor painter and tutor, and I organise regular online watercolor workshops. And this is a compilation of attendee paintings from my January 2022 online workshop. Just those that actually, not everyone actually sent in their painting. I'm not sure why, but everyone is invited to send in their painting, and then I do a group critique video like this. So every month, watercolor enthusiasts join me from, well, nearly every month, join me from all over the world. And over a couple of hours or so, we do a step-by-step painting together. So last month, we painted this scene in Fabriano, Italy, home of the watercolor paper, and also a popular location for an annual get-together by the IWS group. Now, you don't have to paint in my style, which is fairly loose. It's really interesting to see everyone's interpretation of the same scene, and the workshops I do are open to painters of all levels. So in this compilation, you will see painters of different levels and different styles. So I'm going to go through the attendee paintings one by one, give a short critique on each one. Please, this is just my own opinion. When I say I don't like something or something may be incorrect, it is just my opinion. You may have a different opinion yourself, and that's art. Also, these photographs are the photographs and paintings are photos done, I assume, by the painters themselves. They'll be taking these photos on different devices, and there may be some distortions of colors and values, and some may be too light, some may be too dark. So just bear that in mind as we go through. So this is the scene in central Fabriano, and the topic was window reflections. Well, a street scene combined with window reflections. Also perspective, so watch out for that as we go through the attendee paintings. Also drawing and painting cars in a street scene as well, to take a look at that, see how people do. A figure or two as well. And then the reflection itself on the left-hand side here, a couple of windows, a narrower one there and a wider one on the extreme left-hand side. What we're going to try and do is get the effect of the glazing of that window and the reflection. So that's the source photo that I share with everyone on these workshops. This is my painting on the day. And my photo looks a little bit light. I think it was a little bit darker than this, but you get the general idea. So I think I got the perspective right. The car's pretty well placed there. Just right of center. A sole figure walking down the street. Maybe that's right in the middle. Maybe that could have been a little bit more to the left or the right. But then over on the left-hand side, those reflections a little bit darker than the buildings they are reflecting. The road surface just a tiny bit darker. And I went in for a little bit of glazing there, that yellow, just to indicate maybe that splodge of blue there, just to indicate maybe something within the window, some display material. I'm not sure what sort of shop it is. It might have been a sports shop, sports clothing. Anyway, centre of town, busy scene, against the light, plenty of practice of perspective. So let's take a look at the attendee paintings then. Now, just before we go through the attendee paintings, if you're interested in taking part in future workshops, or you'd like to take part in previous workshops, they've all been recorded. Attendees get access to the recording, unlimited playbacks to the recording. There's no time limit. They can play it back as many times as they want to. So you can take part in previous workshops and still get a critique from me, a little short video critique from me. Take a look at www.crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot. Also, you can go to my website, timwilmot.com or timwilmotartist.com, and you'll see details of current and previous workshops there, normally every month. So hopefully see you soon online. So, Anne, first up, Right. I'm not sure if we've got the perspective quite right with the cars. I think it's a good composition. I love the colours that you've got in there. Nothing appears to be overworked too much. I like these colours in here, and the pinks and the yellow ochres. Beautiful, very evocative of an Italian scene. The reflection, maybe that car might be just a tiny bit too high, I think, but you've got the reflection. Apart from that, you've got the reflection good. I certainly feel like it's the shop window and the glazing there. Maybe that figure's a little bit lost on the left-hand side. Perhaps it could be a little bit more defined there. Not sure where the head is. Oh, I guess that's the head there. That figure might be a tiny bit too large for the scene. Yeah, so the cars are generally good, but just think about the perspective. It looks as if we're looking. I think this car here is a little bit too low. If it was a bit higher, that would look a lot better. The buildings, though, the perspective on those buildings is brilliant. Certainly the windows here, fantastic. Well done, Anne. Thank you very much. And Anna. Well, it's a very clean scene. Nice and bright. We've got the light certainly hitting the road here. Good perspective, I think. Possibly that top right corner there could be just a little bit higher. I like the effect on the window here, these diagonal lines. That's very effective. I hadn't thought of that. Is that it might be a little bit of white paint or possibly a little bit of lifting off. Either would do, I think, in that situation, but it looks really good. It's like a sort of film of polythene or something like that behind the shop window. Excellent. Good figure in relation to the cars. Cars are generally good, especially like that right-hand one. This one on the left-hand side here looks, I think the shadow could be a bit wider on the road there with that one. But the reflections are very, very good. Well done, Anna. Barb. Yeah, we've got a figure looking into the window. So good range of values with this one. Let's start off with the value. Lovely dark street in the distance there. The perspective is good. Maybe that far side of the street could be a little bit less steep, I think, just a tiny bit. But other than that, perspective good. I think you did really well with those reflections. You got a little bit of glazing over them. They certainly look like they're reflecting the objects on the right-hand side. When I went through the demo, I described that sort of middle dividing line and then trying to, I guess with Barb, it would be sort of round about there. So obviously that distance is going to be the same as that distance, a way of trying to estimate where those objects could be placed in reflection. But those windows are excellent. Yeah, well done, Barb. Thank you. And Barbara. Now Barbara's photo is a little bit out of focus, so just excuse that. It looks like this reminds me like a Lowry painting. It's excellent. It's quite soft, quite light in values. Maybe I think you've interpreted the reflections a little bit differently, but we've certainly got the feeling of the reflections there. From a perspective point of view, I think we're looking a little bit down on the scene. So with the rooftops of the cars, if you wanted to have the viewer feel a little bit lower, Barbara, then maybe those rooftops could be sort of all on the same level. But well done for getting in all those cars. Sorry, your photo it was just slightly out of focus there. Never mind, we can certainly see what's going on there. Well done, Barbara. Betty, those cars, my eyes immediately go on these cars here, particularly the front two there, and that Fiat 500. They're brilliant. You've taken a lot of trouble to get those absolutely right. Well done, Betty. Perspective good. Love the colours, the warm and the cool of the buildings. The reflections are very good. We've just got the right sort of values on the left-hand side, a little bit softer on some of the edges. And also you've got that diagonal sort of lifting out a little bit there on the left-hand side, which I didn't do myself, but I think it's a really good idea just to give that extra feeling of the glazing of the window. Yeah, very good reflections, good perspective. You've got a few little markings in the road to depict the cobblestones in the road. Nice one. Yeah, well done, Betty. Thank you. And Bodan. Oh, this is more like a sort of liner wash, this one. Very effective. Perspective generally good. Not so sure about some of these lines here. And maybe that top line there might need to be just a little bit steeper, just a tiny bit, going up a little bit like that because of the height of the building. Cars, though, are excellent in the street. Very nice indeed. Maybe that one there, that car there, the front of the car, just extending out a bit. I'd ease off on the white paint. I think just a little bit too much on some of these cars, the backs of the cars. I wouldn't personally use so much as that. There's nothing wrong with white paint, but just in moderation. Now you've got the reflection, I think, really good. Looks all right to me. I like the way this car is sort of spaced out. It's like there's some different angles on the windows there, the two windows, the wider window and that smaller window. And the attention to detail, you've got that green sign there and the green sign, the reflection over on the left-hand side. Yeah, so just a little bit about the perspective, these windows here, try and get that steeper angle. I think that would make it just a little bit better. Well done, Bodan. Bonnie. Let me just see if I can zoom in a bit on this one. Yeah, very good. Now, perspective might be a little bit out. The top of that roof there on the right-hand side is a little bit too flat. It needs to be a bit steeper. Apart from that, it all looks okay. Maybe from a viewer's stance, we're sort of on the sort of left-hand side of the street looking up. Nothing wrong with that at all. You've made more of a feature of I guess the shop blinds there and the actual street itself. Again, nothing wrong with that. But you've got the reflection there. I think that it certainly does look like a reflection. Maybe I would have less of these whiter patches there. Just ease off on some of those. But good figure, good cars, good perspective with the cars as well. Nothing overworked. You've got that soft edge of the shadow. Brilliant. Well done, Bonnie. And Chada. It's almost got the feeling of a pastel painting, this one, with your dry brush. You've used a little bit of I guess a dry brush, or possibly a bit of lifting off, maybe, I think, in the background there. But the overall composition is really good. Perspective is good. I like the feature of this doorway here. Looks like there's some steps leading up to the doorway. Those cars are brilliant. Maybe the back of this car, the angles are just a little bit too steep. I think that car on the right-hand side looks a lot better. Figures are excellent, especially on the left-hand side. And maybe the ones at the back, they're just a little bit too tall compared to the cars. Reflections, yeah, they're very nice. There could be, maybe, China, we could have just a little bit more detail on some of these windows, the frames, just to make them a little bit less plain. But I like it. That reflection is excellent. And you've got, looks like there's a lot of light coming in that window there against that yellow car. Very nice indeed. Well done. And Ching. Yeah, you brought the figure a little bit further, or a little bit closer to us. The car's a bit bigger, so we've got a feeling of the narrowness of the street and the closeness of those cars, and this really busy little sort of cure traffic going up into the middle of town. Very nice. I like the mixture of brush marks, some dry brush marks there. Other smaller marks to indicate windows in the distance. Nice sort of watercolor effect with the blooms going on. Nothing wrong with that. Warm and cool in those buildings. Reflection, perspective, very good. Reflections are, yeah, I think they're pretty good. And the figure, just a little bit darker. The actual figure coming towards us is quite light. Maybe the arms look a little bit static, but there's certainly movement in the legs there, and the reflection is very good. Well done, Ching. Thank you. And Christy. Nice and bright. And those cars are brilliant. You've got lots of figures. I love these figures, especially that right-hand one there, that lady with the shopping bag, I guess. Very good. Reflection. The perspectives are excellent. Yes, very bright colours. The glazing on this window, we've got the feeling there of that glazing. You've sneaked in a few extra windows as well, I think. But the reflections are, I think they're really nice. And with a bit of glazing, we've got the feeling of that glass material. Nice shadow there, warm and cool. Yeah, very bright. But excellent job on those cars. Well done, Christy. Connie, just to zoom in a bit more on this one. Now, perspective. Are we at a slight angle here? Looks like there's a bit of a slight lean. I'm going to emphasize it a bit more, but it looks like there's a little bit of a lean there, but it doesn't matter. Apart from that, perspective I think is generally good. The cars are very nice indeed. The figure, now that figure with the width of the pavement, possibly we could have that figure could come a little bit closer to us, and it might be a little bit, that figure might be just a little bit too thin. But good placement of the figure. The reflections are very nice. You've gone quite dark with the cars. Nothing wrong with that. A nice feeling of the glazing of that window as well. I like the little marks that you've made in the pavement and the road. Certainly, we've got a sense of the materials on the pavement, and nice colours on that right-hand building as well. Well done, Connie. Thank you. Dan. Well, nice impact with the values. Very dark in the distance and on the right-hand side and within the shadows of the shops here. I would the cars are very good. With the figures, I would maybe have less of the lighter edges around them, Dan. Just a little bit less. Certainly the lower parts of the figures. I think we can get away with it with the heads there and the shoulders. That's right. They're really good figures though. Cars are excellent. Those two cars there, the looseness of that one. And this one here, the edges, look at the edges that Dan's been able to get there. Very, very good. This figure here, nice bit of movement walking across the street. So those two figures good. This one, maybe it's just a little bit too much light behind it. Reflections are, you've gone quite loose with your reflections. Very nice. Soft edges, a little bit darker. A little bit, is it a bit darker? Yeah, it certainly is on the road surface. And a bit of glazing over the top for something within the shop window. Perspective of that top window there, maybe that could be a little bit steeper, that angle there, Dan. Just a tiny bit as we go down the street. Very nice indeed. Good range of values. Well done. David. It's very clean. nice and bright. The perspective is good. Cars are, let's just zoom into those cars. Yeah, I like the cars. I like your style of these. It's almost like an outline of the objects, a bit sort of pen and washy down in the street there. Figure looks a little bit awkward. I think the figure's about the right size. Head might be a bit too large for the body, but you've got a sense of movement. Looks like this figure's wearing jeans and a striped top and walking away from us, but it looks a little bit odd, the pose. Reflections. Now, maybe we could have a little bit more detail in the reflections just to give them a little bit more context to what they are reflecting. So, for example, just as a suggestion, I might try and get in some windows, some dark windows that are reflecting those on the other side, possibly some windows on the far building. That sign there could be a little square over here, just as an idea. But it's nice and bright. You've certainly got the colours of Italy in this one. Well done, David. Duncan. Well, it's very bright. You've got the mixture of soft edges on the left, harder edges on the right. With the perspective, looks like we're looking uphill a tiny bit, and this car on the right-hand side looks a little bit too narrow. That figure could be a tiny bit larger, I think, just as regards the relationship with the cars. So just think about that perspective and maybe the horizon line. You've got the horizon quite high up there. Maybe it was just a little bit lower. We could get in more of the height of that building in the background. Just watch also the overworking on some of the window frames here. Maybe use a bigger brush. I'm not sure what size brush you might have used, Duncan, but maybe consider a larger brush for some elements of the painting. But the reflection of windows, you've certainly got that. Nice and soft. You've got those mixture of edges. Lovely colours as well. You've got the feeling of the brightness. You've got the warm and the cool in the painting as well. The blinds, just the right shade, just the right sort of colour there for those blinds. Excellent. Well done, Duncan. And Ed. Well, very bold with your dark marks. Yeah, I love these expressive brush marks here, these curves on the pavement. Yeah, it's got a certain style about it. So let's just look at the perspective first of all. I think the perspective is generally good. This figure, he's a little bit chunky. Looks like a body. I wouldn't like to meet this guy in the street. Looks like he's going to duff me up or something. It might be just a little bit too big. We've got a sense of movement though. The reflections are very nice. I would say maybe some of these windows could be a little bit darker on the left-hand side, the reflected windscreens. But yeah, the brush marks that you've got are very, very nice indeed. Confident that also these bollards, that one there, he's just done it in one line. And then this one down there, one line, and then a bit of shadow coming out. Nothing overworked. And look at this is what watercolor does, all these beautiful values that are occurring in there in the depths of the shop front. Well done, Ed. Thank you. And Eileen. Well, let's just zoom in a bit more on this one. Oh, this one might be a little bit out of focus, just a tiny bit out of focus, but we can see what's going on. You've got a sense of that depth of that street, Eileen, with the perspective. You've got a couple of figures in there. Well done. Nicely placed as well. The shop window reflection, yes, that's good. That car there might be just a tiny bit too large if it's going to be the reflection of that Fiat over there. Cars are very nice. I like the Fiat there on the right-hand side. Could have gone maybe a little bit darker at the end of the street or up here at the top of the shop, just to give the feeling of the darkness. Also, I wouldn't do a shadow within a shadow, this darker shadow here of the figure. So if that figure is generally all in the shade, then maybe just a little bit of a sort of darker, softer bit there, but certainly not those hard edges like a shadow within a shadow like that. Lovely. Well done, Eileen. Thank you. Fiona. I guess this is maybe a little bit wider in dimensions to the one I did. Nice and bright. Love the brightness that you've got at the end of that street. We certainly need our sunglasses for that. The perspective is brilliant on this, I think. Very, very nice. Perhaps with some of these car windscreens, I wouldn't go so dark on the ones in the distance, just a little bit lighter possible. You've got your painting on the whole is quite light and bright. So I'm just thinking, is that just a little bit too dark, those windscreens in the distance there? Great figure. The reflections, very good, soft, a little bit darker than the objects to the right. Nice edge to that shadow here. Possibly just a little bit empty in this area here, Fiona. I would be tempted just to get in a few little tire marks with a dry brush, just give a bit of texture, fill in something that big area down there. But very nice, very bright. Thank you, Fiona. And Gwen. Let's zoom into this. Good range of values on this one. Love the building at the end there. That warmth against the cool. Perspective generally good. Perhaps this Fiat car here could be a little bit higher, and we're looking at a bit too much of the roof. So the back of the, let's zoom into it. So the back of that car could be just a little bit higher, all right? And the rooftop a little bit more horizontal, a little bit flatter. But the rest of them are brilliant, very good. Nice figure. The reflections also are excellent. Maybe a bit of a lean on this window here, just a tiny bit. But the perspective on this, I think, is very good. Yeah. Good range of values though. We've got that the darkness in the distance, the contrast of that darkness against the light there, or the darkness on the left and the light of that windscreen. Very nice. Thank you, Gwen. And Hans. Good perspective. Very nice. I would say we don't need these darker edges to these objects like the blind there. Just let the difference in values or the difference in colours speak for themselves. That figure, the head's just a bit too small, Hans. Head needs to be a bit larger, but the figure is in the right proportion. Ease off on the white paint a little bit, especially in the shadows there. Cars are excellent. This one, the car on the right hand side, the top is just a little bit too narrow. Maybe it needs to be a little bit wider, I think. Hands on that one. Lovely colour of the buildings though. Reflections, can I zoom out a bit more? Reflections are brilliant. I like them. Yeah, that bit of warmth there, that colour there, that yellow and a pinky, salmony colour. Very nice. Yep, thank you, Hans. Thank you. Helen, let's zoom in a bit more on this one. Perspective, yeah, not too bad at all. Now with the cars, that car there in the middle, good. But the one on the right-hand side, I think the windscreen looks a little bit odd. Perhaps if it was, because of the size of the car, maybe just have a solid rectangle for the windscreen. Like this one is white, maybe that one could be just a little bit darker. I think it looks a little bit odd, that shape of that dark windscreen. My eyes just are drawn to it. The reflections are, on the whole, are very good as well. This car here looks like it's leaning backwards a bit, and I would say don't use the white paint. You could endanger just overworking it a little bit, Helen. Figure's good. Yeah, it's coming towards us. Could be a little bit wider, I guess, the figure, but it looks good. I would try and also go a bit darker. This is quite bright, quite light in values. Consider just going a little bit darker in some areas of the picture, just to get up a bit more contrast, particularly at the back of the street there. So a bit darker just above the tops of the cars. Well done, Helen. Thank you. And Joe Quinn. Very bright. Nice. Good warms and cools. Very precisely drawn with that building on the right-hand side. I like it a lot. The windows there and these lines. You've got that perspective, I think. Very, very good indeed. Figure. Looks like this figure's had a hard day at the office. He's trying to make his way home. Collar undone. Tie a little bit slack. Good figure, good movement. Reflections. Not so sure about this window, this smaller window, this narrow window. There's a little bit too much light in it. And the way that the figure just encroaches a little bit on that frame. But on the left-hand side, the bigger window, very nice. And you've lifted out a little bit in places just to, gives that feeling of that glazing, the window, the actual glass in the window. A little bit of yellow there. Yes, I like those reflections, but good job on the perspective and the cars, and I particularly like that right-hand building. Well done. John G. Right, I bet your painting's a bit bright in this. We've got a bit of, there's like a little sort of tint or a filter on it, but we can see everything. So on the whole, fairly good perspective. Yeah, cars are good. Figure good. Look, that figure, I love the hat on that figure. Is it a hat, John? I'm pretty sure it is. And also the way the hat sort of merges into the face, and then that merges into the top, and then merges into the trousers. We've got a great sense of movement. It looks like this guy's on his mobile phone or something, and he's pointing with the other hand at something in the window. Excellent. With the, right, at the base of this building, I would close off this lighter gap there. So have more of a smoother transition, a softer edge from the shadow. That wall, by the way, is beautiful. This granulation that's occurring there. Like it. Shadow maybe could be a tiny bit darker as well. So smooth transition from as we're coming down the wall, and then the shadow coming out to the street. Nice reflections though. Excellent. Thanks, John. And another John Q. Bright perspective, very good. It looks like you've moved things a little bit more to the left from a composition point of view. So we've got more of the building to play with. I would be tempted to sneak in, because you've got more of the right-hand side of the street. I'd be tempted to put in a figure over here, and then that could be almost possibly a reflection. Oh, no, you wouldn't. No, you wouldn't scrub that. But we just get a figure in here. It would not be reflected in the window over there. Nice cars. Very good cars. Good job with the perspective and of those cars going into the distance. I wouldn't use these darker lines on top, the top of the building, and also a little bit, because the buildings are quite light, the lines of the different levels of the building, the windows, just a tiny bit too dark. So I had to go a little bit lighter those. Reflections, though, are very nice. Good figure. Lovely figure. Nothing overworked with the shadows. Excellent. Yeah, well done, John. Joy. It's got a soft feeling about it. Certainly got the Italian colours. Perspective is good. Cars are very nice as well. I particularly like this car here. That figure could be maybe a little bit darker with the light behind it, but it's a good size figure, just in the right proportion. The reflections are very good. Yeah, I like it. Maybe could be a little bit darker here. Going back to perspective, I'm not sure if there needs to be more of a stronger line here. That sort of side of the pavement and the base of the windows, and then maybe the base of that window could be something like that, just as an idea. Yeah, really nice. Lovely. Well done, Joy. Judy. It's very sort of bold. Certainly got the bright light coming into the street. Yes, you've gone quite strong with the architecture. I like that right-hand building. Looks really nice. Lovely colour on that. The background building. So building on the right, good. Background building. I think the reflections could be perhaps just a little bit darker. And also these lines here, they're too equally spaced. Maybe they could, to give the sense of depth, maybe we could have narrower. That gap could be narrowing as it goes into the distance. Good cars, though. Lovely cars. And good figure. That figure's got a sense of movement about it, just in the right size to the cars. Yes, it's quite a clean image. Maybe if we sneaked in some extra figures or some extra architectural details. I think it's this area here. There needs to be a little bit more in it, and possibly darker. Yeah, darker on the reflections. That would for me work a little bit better. The reflection of the cars, though, they are just right. Yeah, nice one. Well done, Judy. And next, Lauren. Very colourful. I like that golden colour there, that golden brown over on that side, and whatever's happening here with watercolour, and it's sort of seeping into the car. Beautiful. Nice. Female figure walking away from us. Good reflection of that figure. Bag, you put a bag, shoulder bag there. Good cars. Ease off on the white paint. Don't go, especially this side of the cars that they're in the shape. So don't want to go too bright with those. So I would say less of the white paint. Good colour buildings though. Good perspective. Got a bit of a wavy line here, which I think it works actually. So it's not so boring, not a boring straight line with the bottom of the shop windows. The perspective of the cars, it looks like that side looks like they're going uphill a little bit. And also, I would say make these windscreens just a little bit darker. They're too bright for me. But if I stand back, it certainly looks like a reflection, bit of glazing here. Yeah, very nice scene. And those buildings I like them a lot. They're the colour of that reddish building in the background, the shop blinds here, excellent. Thank you, Lydia. Oh, what superb cars! There's been some really good cars in this group. The yeah, there's a sort of sense of the cars going to the distance. They're all at different angles. We can sense there's some people there beyond the cars. That figure's very, very good. Just in the right proportion to the cars. And though that window, with this little bit of either lifting off that light vertical band going across the building, across the car, across the road. Yeah. Very nice. And the perspective is good as well. You haven't gone for those rich red colours, but I think this works. You've got the good value there. Maybe a little bit untidy with the edge of the shadow. The shadow might be a tiny bit overworked, but it's a nice one. Well done, Lydia. Thank you. Excellent cars. They're very good. Right, Lynn. Oh no, Lynn's moved those windows a bit over to the left. That's all right. Nothing wrong with that. So good composition. Perspective generally good. I think the base of the buildings on the right-hand side could be a little bit more horizontal, not so steep. But nice cars, good figures, especially these two here. I would maybe not have so much of the lighter edge to some of these cars. Just try and consider connecting them a little bit more. They're sort of standing out on their own a bit too much. Like that one there. That car there, and it's sort of touching, connecting to this Fiat car on the right. I think that looks a lot better. So they're almost, this stream of cars are almost one object. Good reflections. Yeah, that figure over there on the left is good as well. Perhaps the head could be a little bit bigger. Yeah, well done. Thanks, Lynn. Lynn with an E. Now, perspective's good, but maybe at the end of the street, if those cars were a little bit lower, it looks like the street is going up. We don't have the feeling, well, you may not know the context of the area, but I think this road, it does go around up that sort of way. So you wouldn't have known that, Lynn, but yes, I think if those distant cars were a little bit lower, sort of on that kind of line there, that would look better. Great figure. Looking into the window, a coat or jacket or something over the arm. Oh, that's a really good pose. Shadows here, very nice. Reflections, good. Yeah, very, very nice. I would maybe ease off on some of these darker edges too. Some of these just a little bit. And that dark edge across the top there just a tiny bit. But it's a very nice painting. Good cars as well. Good, bold shapes, these curved shapes of the cobblestones. Yeah, well done, Lynn. Thank you. And Matt Rusdy. Well, it's got a lot of atmosphere, this one. My eyes are immediately drawn to the middle of the composition. Maybe some of the cars could be a little bit lighter as we're looking into the light. Perhaps the road surface could be a little bit lighter, but we've got some atmosphere here. Not so sure that the reflection, the cars look a little bit lower. They need to be a bit higher. So we've got that kind of line there. I think the cars need to be reflected over here, if that's the sort of middle line. And maybe this car would be here. Great figure though. Perspective is good. Nice colours. Beautiful colours on the right-hand side, that right-hand building. Yeah, a lot of atmosphere. Well done, Matt Rusdy. Maxine. Oh, I like this blue. That's the sort of prevailing colour in this, that blue. and then just a little bit of that light red for the distant building. It still pushes it back. Darker with the reflections are very good. I like them. That figure. It's got a nice style about it, really fresh, very sort of contemporary. That car here, so simply done with the brush marks of that back windscreen, the back of the car. Ease off on the white paint, and that one as well. Just a little bit too much white, I think, but it's a very fresh painting. Yeah, well done. To Maxine, that was Maxine R, and then Maxine S. Well, a different style altogether. The perspective is good on the right-hand side, not so sure on the left-hand side with the base of these buildings here. Maybe it's with your perspective, we've got this column, this frame of the window, it goes down and the base of the window is below us, but perhaps that's what we're seeing here. Good cars, very good cars. I like the texture on the surface of the road as well. We've got a bit of movement of those cars. That looks like an old French Citroen car there. Nice figure here. Perhaps the head a little bit too big. The top body could be a bit larger. So, yeah. So or maybe the head's all right, but it just needs the top part of the body needs to be a bit bigger. Reflections are very nice indeed. You've picked up on the building sign reflected from that side. Not so sure about this area here in the middle, Maxine, these sort of yellows and blues. But it's okay. Nice reflection. Good cars. Lovely. Well done. You've gone for a bit of a sort of a curve of the shop blind, a bit of like a sheen on the underside of that shop blind. Yeah, well done. And Mike. Yeah, perspective is good. You've gone quite soft and light with the colours, not so strong on the right-hand side. Good cars. I particularly like that Fiat there. That looks very realistic. Good figures as well. That red figure over there balances it really nice. Good texture on the road, and these curves as well. Those reflections also very good. Maybe there's a bit of a slant here, but that doesn't matter. It works. Reflections could be a tiny bit darker. That building there on the left-hand side, just a little bit, Mike, I think. And up the top here, we need to try and connect these different shapes a bit more so that we don't have these sort of rounded bits. Do you see those rounded bits? Whatever brush using, like that bit there, just take the paint right up and connect it a bit more. All right. But nice, lovely transparency here. I like that. It's not overworked. You've laid different, we've got different layers on top of each other. Beautiful. Good figure. Yeah, well done, Mike. Nydia. Well, it's bright. Nice cars, especially that white car there. This car here, perhaps the front is just it's a little bit too, the car looks a little too long. And also that white paint there, you've got the edge of the car. Can I zoom in a bit more? Got the edge of the car, which is black, and then the white paint, then the dark. So I would have said, do dispense with one or the other. So no black line or no white line. That would work better on that one. But lovely cars. Perspective is very nice on this. Great figure. Yeah, the flesh tones and you're merging with the shirt. That's an excellent figure. Shadow, reflection. Let's look at these reflections. Yes. Now, I like that yellow. You really have picked up on that. That's what I saw in the window. That's sort of some object behind the glass. And yours works really well. Yeah, lovely. Well done, Nydia. Pablo. Aha, bit more detail here. You've changed the scene. Well done. So perhaps more of a, I don't know, is it more of a French scene here? I'm not so sure. This traffic cop booking, this looks like some sort of fancy sports car here. Probably they're in they're overstaying in the cafe, perhaps. The streets look a little bit empty. Maybe consider just a few more people in the street. But well done for changing the scene. Perspective is very good. This side here, the detail that you put in, and by reinventing, by imagining different things, you're having to think more about the reflections. So the writing back to front, of course, quite difficult to do, but you've done that really well. The darker colour, those reflections, these lines across the glass, the detail on these cobblestones, different colours, pinks, blues. Maybe that reflection edge is a little bit overworked, but that placement is brilliant. Very nice. Well done. Congratulations for changing the scene as well. Pat. Well, excellent. Good perspective, good composition, lovely colours. I like that, the blue of the building on the right. These cars are excellent. You've got that Fiat 500 shape. Done really well. Nice figure. Let's just zoom into the figure. Looking into the window. Nice reflection of that figure as well. And the cars. That's a really good job on those reflections. And also you spend a bit of time doing those more distant shot blinds. They've come out really well. Then you're leaving it up to imagination, the base of the building and in the distance. Good texture on the pavement. With the shoes, I would just be a bit careful. You're not making the figure look as if it's hovering a little bit above the surface. So just be careful not overworking it. It's a brilliant figure. The shoes are brilliant, but just want to try and connect things a little bit more. That's a very good job. I like it a lot. Well done. Thanks, Pat. Ravi B. Yep, perspective is good. You've gone for a bit of a wider street, I reckon. I quite like this. It looks like a bit of a barricade, but I actually quite like it. At the end of the street, this sort of jagged line here, the granulation of the paint, simple marks for the windows. Just ease off on some of this lighter paint. It might be a sort of like a yellow ochre or something like that. So just ease off a little bit on that. Great figure, just in the right proportion. Good cars. Reflection. Yeah, we got the. You've gone for a simpler reflection, which works. We've got a sort of receding number of windows going into the distance. Sort of pinkish colour there for the reflection. Yeah, it certainly does look like a shop window. Maybe that car there, that car would be better if we just saw part of it. But this is what, this is the beauty about watercolor, all of these different granulated shapes here, the granulated texture, and bit of blooms appearing as well. Yeah, nothing overworked, nice and fresh, nice little speckles here and there, giving it a bit of sparkle. Well done, Ravi, and another Ravien. Very soft with that building. You've gone quite soft with that distant building. I think that works. And we have the impression of something going on at street level, the bustle of people, these cars as well, lovely cars going into the distance. I would just ease off using the white paint there, Ravi, for that windscreen. If it was whatever you had below that, just leave it, all right? Not put that white paint over. Then the reflection, so the perspective is very good. Right and left. The reflection, yeah, I like it. Bit of glazing with the yellow paint there. Certainly does look like that's the reflection. Yeah, good figure as well. Yeah, well done, Ravi. Thank you. And Sally. Well, you've gone for more of the sort of mid values here, soft. A limited palette, not too, generally fairly warm, but quite light. Nice style, good perspective. Nothing overworked, clean lines. Cars are good. Perhaps the windscreens could be a little bit smaller on that car there. Good figure though. And the reflections are excellent. I particularly like that corner of that car just appearing on that side of the frame. Perspective is good. Yeah, lovely. Well done, Sally. And Sarah. A little bit overworked on this one in this middle area. Perspective is good. Perhaps the pavement here just widens out a little bit too much from a perspective point of view. So if I was to draw it, maybe it would be a bit more like that. Oops, let's do that again. A bit more like that, I think. That would work better. And then we've got the frame of the window coming down here. That might look a little bit better from that side, that point of view. Nice cars though. The figure's all right actually. Quite squarish shoulders. Maybe the arms are a little bit too thick for the body, but it's good, overall good size figure for everything else in the scene. And the reflection is very good as well. Just a little bit overworked here, Sarah. All right. And Sarah. Oh no, you've moved the cars around. That's a good idea. The only thing with moving the cars around with the reflection is just trying to think where those reflected, where these modifications, how the reflection will appear. But yours looks really nice. I like the fact that you've made this car more prominent on the right and figures on the right hand side. We can see that there's a few distant figures as well. Perspective is good. Yeah, nice and bright scene. Nothing too overworked. Maybe the shadows down on this side could be a little bit lighter in the distance, a bit darker, perhaps coming towards us. And yeah, the reflections of these bollards, the shadows of these bollards, maybe consider not having them touched, not having them connected. So, for example, that bollard there, just maybe a little bit of a shadow coming out, but then a gap, and then the next one, that one coming out. Do you see what I mean? Just so it's not all joined up with each other. You've got the gap there, that's all right. Reflections are very nice, lovely. But well done for changing the scene to suit the composition. Sorrow. Now you've made, I think you've made the horizon just a little bit lower, which means we've got a bit more of the top of the building showing. So we have more of a sense of the height of the buildings in the street scene. Perspective is very good on this, lovely. Cars are very good. Maybe this car on the right hand side is going uphill just a little bit, could be a bit more horizontal, the lower part of the car. That car's very good. Good figure. Yeah, nice figure. And good reflections. Lovely. Yeah, and you've gone darker, just a shade darker with the reflected buildings. I do like that far building though. You really do feel like it's a sort of sultry, hot day, and you're looking up into that. You really have pushed that building back. Well done, sorry. Sheila. Well, we got the figure with the dark glasses. Yeah, good figure there. Looks like he's saying something to us. He's joking with us. Got a smile, dark glasses, a happy figure. Lovely cars. Those cars are fantastic, especially this one on the left, catching that light. Don't think that's white paint. Nope. Very fresh. Distant figures. Ooh, lots of figures. Well done. Perspective is very good. You haven't gone for that cool blue building on the right hand side. I like that light hitting the corner of the building as well. Reflections. Okay, so you haven't we've got window reflections, but it's yes, a little bit messy, I think, in that section there. I'm not really sure what's going on, but it certainly does look like a window reflection, because you've got the happy chappy there reflected as we say goodbye to him. Right, Sunisi. Now, the perspective on here in the middle the perspective in the middle is okay. On the right hand side, the base of the street might be just a little bit too steep, so we want to be a bit about there. I'm pretty sure this photo is quite dark compared to your painting. Maybe consider getting a little bit of light on these windscreens so that we've got a feeling of that light day, the bright sunlight coming towards us. Well done for including the traffic light. I don't think anybody else got the traffic light in. That really does stand out well. Now the reflections, yes, we've got it. Maybe the figure here, the reflected figure looks a little bit too short, so the top should be around about there. But the cars, the reflections of the cars, yeah, well done, Suniti. Bit of softness in those reflections as well. But I think the photograph is a tiny bit too dark. I bet yours was a lot lighter. Susan. Well, it's very colourful, very dramatic. I think perspective is not quite there. That figure, these cars are a little bit too small, and that figure's a little bit too small compared to the windows. It may be we should almost be maybe double that size, I would have thought, Susan. But apart from that, perspective, generally good, nice and loose with the painting technique, the watercolor technique. Like that blue on that right hand side, and nice reflections as well. It's certainly got that those reflected shapes, darker values on that reflection. I like this shadow in here, very nice shadow. Just the right color, just the right value. Well done, Susan and Tony. There's a couple of excellent cars there. You could almost reach your hand out and touch them. Excellent figures. Very excellent cars. Very good figure there as well. Precisely drawn. The perspective is very good, Tony. And those window reflections are very good. Just the right sort of value. And that lighter vertical glaze mark there, that edge on it. Yeah. Beautiful, clean painting. The frames of the windows. You've actually observed, you've taken some time to observe the scene and get it right. So that's the exterior frame. Then we've got the seal of the glazing, and then I guess that might be the frame of the window on the other side of the glass. Excellent. You captured it really well. Well done, Tony. Thanks for everyone taking part. And if you want to catch up with the next session, just always, they're normally every month or so, but go up to crowdcast.io/Tim Wilmot. You'll see the next one up there. Hope to see you on the next one. We do different subjects for watercolor every session. Thanks for watching. Catch up with you on the next one.